Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of Green by Zachary Logan. This is a book that came out July 15th, 2025 from Radiant Press. It's a poetry collection. I received this copy from River Street Reads in exchange for a fair review. If you love elegiac poetry with small themes and big thoughts, focusing on little bits of life, you should check this collection out. What is it about? Green is an exciting new collection of ekphrastic poems accompanied by a compilation of green sketches via the lens of a queer poet and visual artist. Zachary Logan carried his sketchbook as he traveled the world and responds to iconic artwork as well as art that once existed but is now lost, destroyed, or far away. Ekphrastic poetry, by the way, is that which is a description of something specific, often a work of art. In this collection, this tends to mean he's hyper-focused on a certain image or idea and focuses on it to elucidate meaning behind it. And his poems definitely do that. So I think that word really encapsulates what these poems are doing. For example, he has one called Clock Hands, which I thought was really great because there is an almost funny twist at the end of it, despite the hyper-focus on something innocuous being elevated to an almost sublime level due to the focus on it. So it's almost like it's like a deep dive into something, and I thought that was really, really cool. The other poems I really enjoyed were The Museum, Blackbird Parents, The Body Does Not Lead Language, and The Difficulty of Yellow. I'm going to read to you Blackbird Parents because it's short and it's a great way for you to see what these poems are like. And I don't think that's too much of like a, like a misuse of the work. It's a very short poem. Blackbird Parents. The every morning swoop of blackbird parents greet my daily walk. Flight pattern of perturbation on the scalp. An evolutionary bias to protect, tinseling the concrete-bedded trees of the casino parkade. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you'll find. If you enjoyed that, the rest of them are like that. Most of them are a lot longer, but I just wanted to read that little one just so you kind of got a snippet of what they were like. There's like 70 or 80 poems in this collection, so there's a lot. The book also has pictures in the middle, like the sketches, like I mentioned from the blurb. They really emphasize the idea greatly, and they kind of come in between the two kind of sets of poems. The poems they're not really separated by any kind of theme, but it just is kind of like a bunch of poems, bunch of sketches, bunch of poems. I thought that kind of worked nicely. Now, the thing is, there are 75 poems, as I said, but I really only loved 5 of them. While I enjoyed the rest, and though they were all elegant and interesting, I have to be fair as a reviewer, and part of that means listing what I wasn't super fond of. I never mean this in a tear-down way, as I don't think that's helpful, especially for lesser-known works. But I also don't think the intention of ARCs is to guarantee like a 5-star rating. And poetry in particular is so hard to review because so much of it is based on emotional connection. You can write the most beautiful poem ever made, but a reader needs to connect with the theme almost more so than the words, I think. So while I found these poems very thoughtful and beautiful, and there were a few that I loved, that I mentioned earlier, I didn't love this collection. I wasn't obsessed with it purely for subjective reasons. The first is because I found the language a bit too lofty at times. It wasn't esoteric, but grandiloquent, is that the word? Oh my god, I'm doing what I accuse the poems of doing. I'm trying to say I found the words a bit over the top at times, I guess. A simpler word could have been used in certain places that would have brought the image to my mind easier than having to kind of pause to draw out the synonym that was required. But maybe I also read too much genre fiction and not enough of lit fic nowadays, so that my vocabulary has stultified. I mean, probably I'm also old, indulged in too much fun in my life, I think, and my brain's just not working as well anymore. So that is obviously a me thing. The second is that there are poems set in places that I've never been, and I don't find those particularly interesting. This is 100% a me thing. I think a lot of people like poems that show them new places because that's super interesting to them to kind of live vicariously through this. But for me, I like poetry that I can really kind of connect with on a deep, deep level. And some street in New York that I've never heard of or have heard of in passing doesn't really do that for me. Again, this is subjective. If someone has been there or has walked that area or just really likes the idea of this, will probably love this, and that's totally cool. It's just not something that's particularly resonant for me. As I said, though, these are a lovely, lovely collection of poems. I'm going to keep them forever. Maybe I just need to reread them at a different time in my life. That's possible, too. So thank you so much to Radiant and River Street for the review copy. I love this cover. I think it's so cool. It's so minimalist, but I love the, hey, it matches my fingernails. That was unintentional. So thanks for watching.